It really is the funniest thing. I got this little camera holder, at the dollar store, and it's been this 50th day I've used it. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. What could go wrong? I'm going through a wind tunnel. Just kidding. It was just a defroster. Good morning, America. How are you? Hi, and thanks for tuning in. This is the Learn with John Eick podcast, and today is day 50 of my drive to school. It's day 50 of my 180 days of driving to school. Day 50, again, not to be a numerologist, seems significant. Like, I don't know, when I turned 50, which was a year ago, I was like, man, I'm 50 years old. And today I'm like, wow, it's the 50th day of school. That seems kind of cool. Now, I know in kindergarten they celebrate the 100th day of school. I'm going to go ask them. I wonder if they acknowledge that they're halfway there or not, because they're teaching kindergartners to count to 100. Yesterday I asked a couple of people, like, hey, what makes work not suck? I mean, I didn't say that because I thought you should use curse words with people, So I was like, hey, like, what makes working here a place that you kind of dig working? And what's funky is I asked 3 different people, and all of my respect, like, Soup's like smart, dedicated, really like good, like educators, and all 3 of them kind of said, 2 of them said the exact same thing, which is weird, and the third one more or less like gave me like a marble in the jar of how you make that thing come true. So I was like, hey, what makes a good place to work a good place to work? And like 2 people straight up said, look, it's the people around me. Like, the people around me are all so helpful. And I was like, great. So advice to anybody who wants to lead an awesome school: hire helpful people. Like, I don't know, maybe that is a good interview question. Like, hey, you see someone next to you struggling, and what do you do? In the interview, you're like, well, I just turn my back on them. But no one's going to say that. That's the problem. It's like, what's the screener? What's the filter? What's the how to hire, helpful people? Theoretically, like, everybody going to education is helpful because they want to help people learn. So then you're like, oh, okay. So I kind of did a little follow-up. I feel like an investigative journalist now. I'm like, okay, got it. You love working here because the people you work with here are super helpful. So there's something about the culture of the organization that is like, yeah, we all help each other out. How did we do that? And nobody seems to be able to put their finger exactly on it. And I got 3 different little nuggets. So I'll just kind of keep dropping those nuggets, I guess, as we go. I said yesterday what we're going to do is spend 30 days, from day 50 to day 80, talking about like how to build organizational culture, that makes people want to be, where they're at. Like, people that make people not want to leave the cool place that they're at. And so one of the nuggets I got from yesterday, though, was this idea that I talked to an educator who had worked in several different places and before they came to the place they're at right now. And they're like, look, I was a brand new teacher. I got thrown into this, internship type deal right out of my credential. And I went to this organization that was kind of, struggling. And she said, I cried every day. I cried every day at work, and nobody ever offered any help. Then I went to a second job, and at that place, I went there, and everybody was veteran, and they really had no time for me, and didn't invite me out to lunch until I'd been there for like 6 months. And even at that point, it was almost like kind of like, prove yourself before we're gonna, invest in you. And then this third place was that she came to this current location. She goes, when I got here, my partner teacher, the person who's on my team, came into my classroom every single day and was like, hey, you ready for the day? Are you good to go? But what she said was, it wasn't just about instruction. Like, what she said, and what this other person I talked to said was, there's something about a place that looks after you as a human before they look after you as an educator. So like, the advice was like, create space and create a culture where people know each other's stories, are looking out for one another as humans first, and then, oh, hey, BTW, do you need any help with lesson design, unit design, things like that. Like, this idea that your first inclination when you connect with another person at this particular job would be like, no, I'm just checking with you eyeball to eyeball, like, because I know you, I know your story, I know your dog's been sick, or you're going through a hard time with your marriage, or that your kids are struggling with whatever thing they're struggling with. Like, this idea that you would first check in with one another as people before you checked in with one another as professionals. Like people before professional. I love the double P there. And then you're like, so I kind of scratched like, well, why does that happen? Like, why does that happen here? And one of the things that one of the people I talked to yesterday kind of dropped into the ethos is like that, hey, like in our little organization, we're constantly, I know not everybody loves icebreakers, so please don't judge. But like, we spend a lot of time sharing stories with one another. We spend a lot of time purposely saying, hey, like, do you all know each other? Do we all know each other? Let's like take just like the first 5 minutes of this meeting and do like a little icebreaker and get to know each other, because once you know somebody's story, it's easier to assume positive intentions when you're working with that person. Once you know somebody's story, you can't dislike or hate that person. Like once you know somebody's story, you're more willing to see them as a human as opposed to just a person who jammed up the copy machine. And I love that idea because I'm like, oh yeah, this is gold. This is like, this is one little marble in the jar of like, well, how do we make a school culture that like really functions and works? Okay, spend time making sure people know each other's stories even a little bit, because that time spent is investing in people seeing each other as people before professionals. And you're always willing to help a people, even if you're like not inclined to always help somebody professionally. But like, if you know a person and you know their story and you haven't any assumption at all that they're struggling, you're willing to kind of jump in and help out. I love that. So, all right, it's the first day of 30 days. We're going to jam on this topic. I like that nugget. Create space for people to get to know each other's stories so they see each other as people, because we're more likely to want to help people. And one thing that helps an organizational culture be awesome and not suck is having colleagues who are willing to help one another. And I think knowing each other's stories and seeing each other's people makes us more willing to help one another. All right, my name is John Eick. You can find me on the Twitters at John_Eick. I'm in the parking lot right now talking to myself. I better get to work. We'll catch you next time.